This is YCN Law and Title. Did I say it right?
Yes.
I always like to make sure. So, anyways, go ahead and introduce yourselves, and that way we can see who's here to help us out and figure out some of these questions.
Perfect. Thanks, Tyler. Well, my name is Kayvon Yasinian. I'm the owner and partner of YCN1 Title. We are a law firm that handles residential and commercial real estate transactions in South Florida and in Southwest Florida. And I'll let Michael, my other law partner, introduce himself.
Kevin, Tyler. My name's Michael Cook. I'm also with YCN Law and Title, one of the owners. Our third colleague, Carly, works with Kayvon in our Fort Lauderdale office, and I handle all of our West Coast closings in our Naples office. So we cover both Southwest and South Florida.
Okay, perfect. No, that's good.
And I'm Shana Yasinian. I'm the owner of Get to Close Transaction Coordination. I am a transaction coordinator. I work with agents all across Florida, handling the administrative aspects and the logistics of getting us to closing.
Yeah, and I know we've closed a couple ourselves together on that, and to be honest with you, it's a big help, with even you guys as the title company, law firm, and title company together. I know that's something I never looked at as a great benefit or feature, if you will. And then obviously there were some transactions I realized the benefit of, So there was some definitely good things. Well, I'll tell you this. I thank you guys for even coming. I know. You guys, somebody took a little longer drive than the other, and I really do appreciate you guys coming out and just sitting here to have a conversation with me.
Absolutely.
Thank
Love,
you.
love talking real estate.
It is one. It is definitely one of those things that everybody tries to get in the midst of basically, trying to get their questions answered, because it potentially is one of their, one of their biggest investments as far as, or they're just, going in to buy their first home or whatever the case may be. So I know that some of the things that I've dealt with and in the past, I dealt with, first time home buyer, I dealt with divorce, I dealt with probate, or even certain things come to us, estate sales. Um, how do you kind of help your clients if you deal with like a probate or something to that nature, or even a estate sale for that matter? How do you kind of come and deal with that as far as like going through the law firm and being the title company? How does that affect, like, what's the big difference that you see of handling that kind of transaction?
It's all very situational, depending on the circumstances. Sometimes we have these issues and we need to let the parties know that a probate is needed or something else is needed. And then sometimes they come to our firm already in the process of the probate or whatever process it may be, a divorce, any sort of issue that may come along. The most important thing is just navigating the parties and the transaction successfully towards that closing. And depending on the situation, we step in with our legal expertise and try to facilitate the closing all the way to the end, making sure everybody is happy. But as far as specifically, like for instance, if we want to speak about a probate matter, probate is very difficult because that's something that a probate court has complete control over. So we have to make sure that that it's moving along, that the documents needed for our closing are being sent to us from that probate court. So it's really just managing the transaction and with the expertise that we have, knowing what needs to be done in that probate court, we can effectively request these certain items we need for our closing. So that's where, a law firm really comes into play because you have that experience and you have that knowledge to know what is needed as far as the documents go from the probate court.
And it's basically like having that extra knowledge of the steps. So, for me, it's like, I have, an agent that is, that works alongside me that has, experience and being able to navigate some of the things that I deal with on a regular basis. So it sounds like from what you're saying is that the biggest takeaway that I see as a big benefit too is like you're able to go through that corporate. A title company is not going to do. I've dealt with many title companies like that are just regular title companies. They're not going to go through the extra process of and usually they'll end up having to hire a third party or something to deal with the court system and so forth. So those things I've come across, especially with there's land deals that's come up and different things that's happened. Because something else I want to ask about too is like a quiet title, right? So, is this something you guys have dealt with? I'm sure, right?
Yes, absolutely. And a quiet title action is needed because there is multiple interests that may have a claim against that property. And what a quiet title does is essentially ask the court for an order to say that the property belongs to X person. And without that order, there is a question of doubt as to who is the record title owner.
Okay.
So that's what a quiet title does. And with our firm, we're able to get them since we are attorneys, and this is the major differentiating thing between us and title companies. We're actually able to get that done for you. We're able to quiet title very quickly because it's a summary procedure through the court, which means it's done rather quickly because the court understands people need certainty as to the ownership of title. So definitely quiet title actions is something that is needed when our title commitment comes back and we have to review title. And if it's calling for one, we have to do it. Whereas a title company may not may not be able to do it, or alternatively will outsource that work.
Yeah, and I can only imagine even in the transaction coordination. I mean, I see on a regular transaction how much back and forth, either emails or trying to reach out to the client. I mean, I can only imagine that's probably a lot more shuffling to do to deal with that, right?
Yeah, and I also think it's very important to go back to this point of preliminary title. And if you think you have a probate issue, running that title report sooner rather than later. We actually do have a transaction occurring right now where the sellers thought that they were done with probate and they entered into a contract and we're almost at closing and have come to the realization that probate is not over. And had we run preliminary title before they went under contract, we could have gone through the process and prevented many issues that have occurred along the way and are costing everybody money because closing has to be extended for an X amount of time because the probate process does take quite a bit of time.
Right. Yeah, and then you got to worry about the contract at that point because I'm constantly looking at the contract saying, okay. I mean, granted, they have these. Did you make it past the days of with the title being cleared or not? And then the lending, do you got to if it's a lending situation, you got to extend it because of the loan commitment.
Exactly.
And all these timelines. And the thing about it is, I can only, like I said, I can only imagine when it comes to what you're doing, you're having to keep track of all these timelines as well, right? I mean, essentially.
There's rate locks that the lenders have to pay attention to. So there's a lot of deadlines that come into play. And when you have to keep extending, it costs everybody, more and more money.
Yeah, and that's something I see like all the time because I'm constantly having to push the issues of different things that are going on and that's why that's one of the big things why I'm glad that you guys came because when you're dealing with certain things you got so much going on that's all stems really from the original contract. And I don't know the actual percentage but I'm just going to toss it out there. I'd say 80% of what, or 90% of what I do in house or whatever contract wise, when it comes to a house, it's usually as is. And then, usually with the land, it's just a vacant land contract type, that FAR bar has already set up, for the bar type of scenario set up for the realtors. And that's kind of what we use. And there's different things that come up. But no, I'm glad you guys shared that little bit of information with that.